Hey guys, on your screen you can see my three boats. My Goat Island Skiff, which I built 5 years ago, the Aussie Goose, which I finished early this year, and all the way there at the back, that's my Kingfisher 30, which I bought 2 years ago and I have been slowly restoring. And just like anyone who has built and owned several boats, I'm now faced with the dilemma what to do with all these boats. And more important yet, how do I find time and money to maintain all the boats and still have a life outside of boating? And with all the hours I spend filming and editing for YouTube, things get even trickier. But that's kind of a good problem, I would say. Nevertheless, it's still a problem that I must solve. And after much consideration, I have decided which boat I'm going to keep. It's easy to guess that the cruiser, I'm keeping that because it's one of a kind really. And now between the Goat and the Goose, which one will I let go? I have already made up my mind, but I will try to explain to you my choice in a logical manner, or as much as possible. So the Goat is a design I saw for the first time over 20 years ago. It was love at first sight. The lines were beautiful, the simplicity, it just blew my mind, and for the next 20 years I kept thinking I must build one. And 5 years ago I did just that, and I sailed her for 4 seasons. Never had an accidental capsize. I sailed her in all kinds of weather, many adventures. I love this skiff. This is absolutely amazing. The Goose, well, that was a different story. I actually tried not to build the Goose. I found it ugly, didn't look anything like a boat, and to be honest, after having or owning a Goat Island skiff and getting all the compliments from people every time I sailed past, my ego wasn't ready for a Goose. That was until I decided to leave emotions out of the choosing process. So I looked at dozens of skiffs, dinghies, and I made a table where I compared all the pros and cons, and in the end this boat came on top. And if you haven't seen that series of videos, I'll leave a link in the description. So which one did I choose? Let's have a look at the pros and cons of sailing these two skiffs. Building process will not be taken in consideration, although they're both easy to build, well, since I already have the two boats. So let's start with the Goat. It's a very, very fast boat in all kinds of weather. Even in very low wind, you can still get this thing moving. Its very sharp bow, if kept underwater or in the water, cuts through shop very, very efficiently. So it makes for a smoother sail than the Goose. It can still be sailed after a capsize without any bailing, but that is only and only after I've made the mid-seat extended and watertight, as well as built these side tanks. They are also watertight. This prevents water from flooding the boat when the gunwale goes under, and it restricts the movement there as well. Of course, it also increases built-in flotation. So that is a possibility, although there's still a lot of water that's gonna stay here, especially in this part of the boat. Very fun to sail, and here I will define fun to sail as in it's a very dynamic and active way of sailing. You need to be on your toes if you want to keep this thing upright and take advantage of its full potential. Otherwise, you're going to end up in the drink. Of course, if you want a relaxed sailing session aboard the Goat, that is also possible. Just reef early, sit on the bottom of the boat instead of the gunwale, and you'll have a very relaxed sailing session. High freeboards. This is a really, really dry boat in any sort of weather, to be honest. Unless you're getting spray and the wind is so strong that it brings spray in, you will always be dry aboard the Goat. And of course, it looks amazing. The lines on this boat are just stunning. Now, the cons. It's not a very forgiving boat. If you make a mistake, there's a very good chance you're going to end up in the drink if you're sailing with a full sail in anything more than 7 to 8 knots of wind. After capsize, there's still a lot of water in the boat there, and that's in this version of the boat. If you sail the standard one, you will not be able to sail it after capsize until you bail it out. My boat was built out of birch ply. I could not find marine plywood because it was at the time of the pandemic, so birch ply was all I had. So I built it. It's a lot heavier than marine ply. Also, I made so many mods to this, including adding more wood or more plywood for the watertight seats, the hatches, and that has consequences. That means that if I want to car top it, I can't. When it's fully loaded with all my gear, it's just about as much as I can drag up this ramp on my own. I can't sleep aboard either due to the layout, although on a standard goat, if this is open here, some people do sleep aboard. They keep their feet under this, and that's just long enough for you to sleep aboard. Not on this one though. So now let's have a look at the Goose. Okay, the first thing that stands out with this skiff, apart from looking like the bottom drawer, it's once you try it, it's its stability. And guys, nothing I say here can convince you of just how stable this skiff is until you try it. Another thing is the weight. Having built this in 4mm plywood, except for the bottom, this thing is just silly light. The whole boat, fully rigged, 100% ready to go in the water, sail and everything, weighs less than a laser's bare hull. This is just really, it's like ultralight. That's one hand with the mast and everything here. So this makes it really easy to handle, take up the ramp, car top it, launch it, etc. Being this light also means that it really gets on a plane really quick. And once this thing starts planing, this thing is really fast as well. Not as fast as a goat, but it's still a very fast boat. Another advantage is no water to bail out after a capsize. There's zero water in the boat once you turn it upright. You can just grab the main sheet, start sailing straight away. Load capacity. The amount of stuff I can carry on this little skiff. We're gonna have to find a way of putting all this in that little boat, nice and tidy. Yep. Okay, we managed to put everything in there, and the boat is nice and tidy. Well, sort of. And the amount of people I can put in there and still sail on a good day, it's almost ridiculous. Sun decks. What do I mean by that? Well, while we're sailing, Marina can still sunbathe here on the deck. How many 12-foot dinghies, or actually how many dinghies do you know with built-in sunbeds? And if it was up to Marina to choose which boat to keep, this sunbed, this alone would be enough for her to choose the Goose, because she just loves sunbathing. Now, peace of mind. You can really relax aboard this skiff. Regardless of how strong the wind is, bar a storm, you can really just relax and enjoy the moment. Knowing that you will not capsize this unless you make a gross mistake, or again if there's a storm or you get a squall or something like that. Other than that, it's very hard to capsize this thing. And freedom, of course. I can take this thing anywhere I want on the roof rack. I can actually car top it on my own. This is mind-blowing. It's a game changer, in particular for me here, where I'm stuck in the estuary with only 4 hours to sail every day because of the tides. Look at that, beautiful day. Even if there was some wind, I couldn't go sailing right now because there's no water. With the Goose, put it on the roof rack, take it anywhere I want, to a lake, to the ocean, and just have a full day sailing if I want to. And you can say, yeah, you can do that with the trailer. Yes, but then you have to find place to park the car and the trailer, which is not easy in Portugal, in particular during the summer near the coast. And not everyone has space or to store a trailer either. So this solution is by far the best, at least for me. And of course I can sleep on the floor without any planks or extra bed frames or whatever. Of course that only works if you're under 6 feet. And of course it's super fun to sail. And here I will define fun to sail as in you can do anything you want aboard this thing while you're sailing. It's that forgiving. Or you can just go out on in a blow and while other boats are here trying to reef sails or considering even if they're going out, I can just go out and be smiling because I know if I capsize, well, less than a minute I'll be back aboard and sailing with no bailing whatsoever. And now the cons. The first thing that struck me is its performance in low wind. It's nowhere near Goat Island Skiff's performance. That thing has 10 square meters of sail and it goes even in almost no wind. This thing has almost 2 square meters of sail and it won't be that fast in low winds. Actually, if I was ever to make a new sail, I would put at least 1 square meter more, or even the 10 square meters as in the Goat. And that is because I really prefer having too much sail on my boat and having to reef it in strong winds or even from 10 knots like I do with the Goat, then not having enough sail in low winds, and then I'm stuck. I can't increase it even if I want to. So definitely I would make this a 10 square meter sail. Noisy while sailing. Due to its flat bottom and this square bow, it is noisy when you sail it, particularly in the chop with low wind. If you let it heel, then it will be sailing on the shine, and that almost completely eliminates that pounding effect. The problem is the boat is so stable that you can't make it heel in low winds. You can't even sit on the same side as the sail and the thing will just maybe 2-3 inches on one side, and that's it. If it's strong winds, there's no problem because then you can let it heel and it cuts through the chop using the shine and this area here of the bow. And once it starts planing, it just really couldn't care less about the chop or swell or anything. So it's more of a, I would say, low wind condition when it gets really noisy. Lower freeboard. When sailing, if there's any chop, I will get my bum wet every time. While in the Goat, that just doesn't happen. Look at the freeboard on that thing compared to the freeboard on this one. So honestly, these are the only cons I have been able to identify so far. And one of them, the small sail area, is actually fixable. Now, one side note, the bottom does flex quite a bit. Maybe that's because I made it with 5mm plywood, which is only 3 plies, and very thin glass or very light glass, and I should definitely have made that out of 6mm 5-ply plywood, but I couldn't find it at the time, so I just went with it, and well, so far so good. It's just awkward to see it flex a bit. So do I keep the pocket rocket super duper fun and capable and amazing and beautiful Goat Island Skiff, or do I keep the slightly slower, slightly smaller, but the most versatile skiff I've ever sailed? And the answer is, I'm keeping the Ugly Duckling. I have never sailed a more fun and versatile skiff in my 40 years of sailing. Maybe I'm getting older. Maybe the Goose is so much more forgiving and relaxing, or it's just the peace of mind of going out in any kind of weather, or the freedom that it gives me to go anywhere I want and sail different venues. Regardless, this is the one I'm keeping. There you go, guys. The official Boat Ramblers skiff from now on will be the Aussie Goose and not the Goat. I had very good times on the Goat, but it's time to find new keeper. Actually, I have found the new keeper or keepers already, and they have sailed the Goat quite a few times as well, so I will introduce them to you next week when we'll be doing here at the club our annual Christmas sailing. So see you next week.